Yeah, we're going to be dealing with some stuff today. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the LZ Sports Show. I am your host, Mark Adam, and I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm joined by Mr. Keith McKnight and his neighbors. He's... Hold on, let me bring him up. There he is. Mr. Keith McKnight, how are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you, Mark? Good morning.
Good morning. Your neighbors are banging on the walls. Hopefully that's construction and not, a really fun Saturday morning. But yeah, keep it family friendly over there, would you, neighbors? Gosh. But we also, I don't know if y'all are aware, but we normally have this guy on. This guy is Mr. Zoner, Neutral Zoner, Redditor and friend of the LZ Sports Show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Excellent.
Morning, man. Morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
Very, very excited to have you on today, and hopefully we're not getting any of that ridiculous echo. If we are, let us know in the chat box, folks. I'm just going to do some previewing stuff, but I'm also going to welcome this brand new guest to the show. Never mind, he's not there. He froze. He went away again. Bye, Carrie. So Carrie Bilkowski was supposed to be with us today. Musician here in Winnipeg, real good guy, photographer. He's an insanely good musician, let me tell you. But we will, if he jumps back in, we'll get him on. If not, he will join us in the chat, I am sure. So welcome everyone to this wonderful show we've got going on. Normally, this is where the guy would be. Oh, there he is. He's back. Carrie, how are you?
Am I back?
You're back.
Oh, delightful.
Yes.
Hello
So
there.
again, this is
Hello.
Carrie Bilkowski, everyone, musician and photographer here locally in town. So,
Hi, thanks so much for having me on. Hopefully I don't disappear again.
yeah, so okay. No, sorry. I just wanted to make sure that you're actually back and it's working. It's okay. So, tech stuff aside, having a bunch of guests on your show isn't as easy as it sounds. I know it sounds really easy to just put this thing together and whip it up, but let me tell you, it's not. I'm just gonna leave it with that. Thank you for joining us, Carrie. Normally, for those that have been watching and listening to the audio podcast, because there's a podcast version now, Mr. Bilkowski has joined us in the chat and sort of hung out with us and asked questions and thrown his opinion around, which I appreciate. But while Keith's neighbors complete their construction project, we're going to hear a word from our sponsor, Aqua-Tech Pool Spa and Bath. We will be back in about 30 seconds.
Make your house a better place to come home to with Aqua-Tech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We've been delivering complete customer satisfaction for over 40 years. Whether it's a fully completed backyard escape, a completely renovated bathroom, or a premium upgrade on outdoor furniture, Aqua-Tech is the only name you need to know. That's because if it's an Aqua-Tech job, it's an Aqua-Tech team working on it. No outsourcing, no subcontractors. We do it all. Visit our one-of-a-kind showroom today at 1065 Dugald Road. Aqua-Tech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We create better places to come home to.
Welcome back. Thank you to our sponsor, Aqua-Tech Pool Spa and Bath. We appreciate them greatly. We are going to just jump right into it. Let's review the game stats first, shall we? So I've brought them up on the screen for those watching. For those listening to the audio podcast, I will go through them. That is not the right sheet. Never mind. They're not. That's the Oilers game. We're not going to deal with that today. I'll see about getting those stats up in a second. But why don't we jump to Keith McKnight? Tell me, please, who you thought the player of the game was, a positive from last night's Jets match in Montreal.
Trevor Lewis.
Good answer. Got more for us?
Yeah, just going to go with him. And, he was the one with a lot of veteran presence on this Montreal team. And you saw him inflict a type of mode for the Winnipeg Jets yesterday that he's just like, hey, boys, we really got to get this going. We got to get out of this slump. He's taking it very serious. You notice him, take his experience from, his days in Los Angeles, come out with the Winnipeg Jets yesterday, but unfortunately it wasn't enough to hold off the Montreal Canadiens last night. I'm still going to hang to Trevor Lewis there for last night. How about you, Mark?
I'm actually going to pass the buck here. Let's get our guest while we still have him before he he disappears. Let's get him involved here. So, Mr. Kerry Bilkowski, would you tell us what you think? Who your player of the game was?
Absolutely. I mean, Trevor Lewis is a great pick. My player of the game was Pierre-Luc Dubois. I think, he may have not shown himself on the score sheet, but he was working hard against the boards. He's really one of the only players who seem to be working the transition game well and getting us into the offensive zone and setting things up. Controlling the pass haven't completely disappeared, but I see a spark in his game that I don't think you're getting from a lot of our other players right now.
That's very, very fair. And let's throw it over to Zoner here. Go ahead.
Well, I think the best Jet last night was Yoel Armia.
Oh.
I know he's not with the team anymore. But he was all over the ice. He made a huge impact. He created 3 goals, though he was only credited with 1 goal and 0 assists. If I need to pick someone off the current roster, Lewis is this nice, safe pick, and he's been very consistently good for the last, over a month now. But if I'm going to pick someone different, I really like Neil Pionk. He again has been consistently good for the last month. Made a lot of smart plays. He's really good at shielding the puck with his body, and defensively, even though he's not a big guy, he's good at bodying guys off the puck. He does a lot of little things well, but he does the flashy things well too. So he's very noticeable on the ice.
Yeah, I'm a big Pionk fan. I don't think I've been shy about saying that in the past. But yeah, I think that's a good choice. Lewis is the obvious go-to. He was on fire last night. He was sort of everywhere that the Jets needed him to be, and even some places they didn't. The problem is that in the third period, everybody stopped playing the game for some reason, and they walk away with an L again. So that's 6 in a row. There's a big, big slump in Winnipeg right now. How can the Jets recover? Because they just lost to Montreal, who's a struggling team, and 3-7-1 or 3-7-0, sorry, in their last 10, the Jets right now.
And Montreal's not just a struggling team. They're missing their number 1 defenseman. They're missing their starting goalie, and they're missing their entire second line.
Yeah.
So if any game should have been a therapeutic gimme kind of game, this should have been it.
Yeah, especially coming off that
happened.
terrible homestand, going 0 for all of them at home. It was rough. So I don't know. Big funk in Winnipeg. Now, sorry, continue. Zoner, you got something else there?
I was going to say, it's a good question. How do you get out of this? Right?
Yeah.
Well, go around
I've got some thoughts if you gentlemen would indulge me.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Please do.
I think first and foremost, we've got to shuffle our top 6 forwards. I do not think the lineups that we're using right now are working. Like, I love Andrew Kopp. I think he's one of my favorite players on the Jets. I don't think he's a top-line offensive player, though. I think he plays great in that third-line position where he's a shutdown guy and occasionally breaks out and has some offensive skill. But as is, our top line has been pretty gross. Scheifele, he's not moving his feet. And, again, Appleton, also a player I really like to watch play. I don't think he's a top liner. I'd like to see Pierre-Luc Dubois get out of that, bottom 6. But Matthew Perreault also get a little bit more of a chance. He's one of those guys who always has a spark, and seems things aren't happening for us. Also, we need to shuffle in some defense from maybe our scratches and our tackling squad. I don't know if we've got a big force like Logan Stanley, who has one of the best plus minuses on our team, sitting on the bench, not playing in these games. He's exactly what we need. We need to move people out from in front of Hellebuyck. We need to get a spark going, get some shots through from the point. All these things that a guy like Stanley can do. the blue line. Where are they? We're sitting on, a Tuck Poolman and a Morrissey, who neither of which have been looking great, and they're our top D guys, and they're getting all the minutes. And to me, it doesn't make sense. And I know Paul Maurice, he has some master plans, and sometimes we don't really see it. But come on, man! Obviously, whatever you're doing isn't working. Shuffle it up, roll the dice a little bit.
Yeah, there's got to be some mix up there. Yeah,
I agree with Carey there. If I can just jump
Sure.
in for a second, he's a coach who's very shy about changing things up, and as cliche as it sounds, bringing out the blender and switching it up. And like you said, it's not working what they're doing right now, and something needs to give here. And it's just you got to respect what's happening and accept it, right?
Yeah, I agree. For those watching the live feed, I've just thrown up the quad box for the very first time ever because we have two guests on today. So, love to have you here. Your opinions, obviously, as we're hearing right now, actually have some validity. You're not here just as a joke. We're here as friends. We're not pros. We got a musician down there. I myself am a musician and like a career bartender that's finally retired from the industry. And Keith McKnight is a sports enthusiast, but also not like a professional sports guy. And we found Neutral Zoner somewhere on the internet. I don't know. So we're just guys having fun. So if you want to join us, you can chat in our chat box via Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, and those things will show up. We have the this blue void here that you can fill, and it'll populate with all your thoughts if you throw them in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. That's where we found Carey Bilkowski, fan of the show, friend of the show, and now guest on the show. So do go ahead and throw your name, throw your comments out there. We want to hear from you. Want to know what your thoughts are. The Jets really struggling right now. And who would you say was the best? Obviously, we threw out Neil Pionk already. Who was the best defenseman last night for the Jets? Because they really struggled against Toronto and Edmonton. So let's throw it to Keith first.
For the defenseman, well, let's see what Zoner has to say. He's been quiet for a little bit there.
I think it was only Pionk playing defense on the Jets. There weren't very many highlights yesterday. Well, okay. So besides him, Jamie Benn had limited minutes. He doesn't have many fans on the internet there, but he does what he does, which is he's very stable, steady. He controls the puck. He doesn't make fancy passes, but he's got a big body. He plays the front of the net well. Mm-hmm. He's not going to win any foot races, but he seems to have. He's a veteran. He seems to know limitations. He doesn't go too far out of his comfort zone. And so not going to win the championship, but it provides a little bit of stability when he's on the ice and gives.
I definitely agree. Ben looks good out there. He seems to bring a little bit of puck movement and smart defensive play. I really liked DeMello yesterday, and I don't always say that. He has ups and downs, but he made some really smart outlet passes. He was crashing the net, doing things that our offensive guys didn't seem to want to do. And I think he was overall pretty responsible with the puck. So he would be my top defender yesterday.
Right on. And Keith, you want to chime in with anything else?
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to have to go with Pionk as well.
Yeah. I mean, he was head and shoulders the best defenseman out there. I really think he should be the guy that chases a guy like Connor McDavid. I really don't think that, as we discussed in the show, I've said before, I don't think Pullman can handle McDavid. There's just the raw speed. There's just no... Yeah, you got a big guy. He's defensively minded. He's smart, but he's getting exposed on his inability to pivot, to change speeds. Like Connor McDavid is before he's moving, he's behind you. And I just don't think Pullman's the guy that should be behind him. He's really struggling with that. And knowing that that's probably our first round playoff match, if we can start winning some games and actually make the playoffs, conceivably we could lose all our games and still make the playoffs. That's not the goal here, but I mean, we may end up playing altogether likely we're playing the Oilers in the first round. So McDavid is the big concern. We don't get to see them again all year, so we have to figure out how can we judge who's going to be playing against these monster superstars in Draisaitl and McDavid by watching them play against other teams who don't have guys like that. So it's going to be a really rough road to the playoffs for the Jets, I think. The game last night, 5-3. I did finally, however, get the game stats, I think, to work, and I think they showed up accidentally while Mr. Kerry Bilkowski was talking earlier. But let's throw up the game stats here and talk about that, because we got 5-3, 35 shots for the Canadiens, only 22 for the Jets. Another example of them winning in the faceoff circle and losing the game, 59% for the Jets in the faceoff circle. But again, every single time that they seem to win in the faceoff circle, they lose the game. We've talked about it every single time they lose. We look at the faceoffs, they win in the faceoff circle but lose the game. I don't understand what the correlation is. So I'm at a loss. Does anybody have any sort of thoughts on why? I mean, we've never asked Kerry. I know I've had Zoner on before, and Keith's always here when we talk about that. But what is the correlation between face-off winning and game losing?
I don't know that there's necessarily a correlation that is direct that you can sort of track. It's frustrating though, because normally you see things like home games and winning faceoffs, and those are the kind of stats that directly impact whether you're going to win or lose a hockey game, and it just doesn't seem to match up with us. And I wish I had any sort of explanation for it, other than we're just have some sort of curse on us.
Yeah, maybe it is a curse. I don't even know.
That's the most logical scientific answer there is for this. Like, it's just a voodoo curse.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I don't know either. Like, I think it seems like the Jets feel happier chasing the puck than having it, right? And maybe this goes back to the earlier years when they were a big, fast, physical team that was great in the forecheck, and they're just used to playing that way, even though their personnel has changed. They don't have the people to play that style anymore, but they're still playing it.
Yeah, and
there does seem to.
So I was just going to jump to the score sheet and say, we got Trevor Lewis, who, I mean, he's got 4 goals on the year, and 2 of them are today. So, and he's like, the 2 goals he scored before were shorthanders. So he's finally got some 5-on-5 goals going for him, and they both happened today. I've got the score sheet on the screen for those that can see it. For those watching on the or listening through the podcast, the audio version, it is not a pretty picture. Nick Suzuki ends up with 3 points on the night, 2 goals and an assist. Yoel Armia with a goal, Letkinen with a goal, Deneau and Perry with assists, and there were a couple other Montreal Canadiens that ended up with assists as well. I do like seeing Harkins' name on the score sheet. I like that he got the assist. DeMello getting on the score sheet. I mentioned last game that I thought he had a really good game, where I normally don't say nice things about DeMello. I don't normally like crap on him, but he's usually the weakest link in the back for us, in my opinion, though, just watching the way he plays and the mistakes he makes and the results thereof. But I thought he had a halfway decent game last night as far as the offensive side goes. But as you mentioned earlier there, Zoner, he didn't really show up on the defensive end, but nobody did other than Pionk, it turns out. So that's where we're at right now. Thoughts on the score sheet, Hellebuyck's .882 save percentage, all that. Anybody want to chime in?
Not a very good game for him last night. He's not really playing like the Vezina Trophy recipient and repeat recipient as well that I was stating that he did play in the last couple. I don't know, probably like the last, not these last 10, but the previous, like 15. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of discouraging right now.
I know you guys talked about it before, but I think he needs a break. He's maybe just mentally, if not physically.
Yeah.
It's not like he lost the game, but he didn't help win it either. Like the goals he had in, tough to blame him, but when he's on form, he'd be stopping one of those. Right?
Yeah, and
Something's off with him.
I agree. I think resting him, going 1-for-1 with Laurent Brossoit to the end of the season, just one game off, game on, game off, game on, game off. I think do that. Give him some time to just sort of like shake it off. Keep playing games, but like give him some rest time. Get Laurent Brossoit some actual play time. And I know, Carrie, you had said in the chat on a previous episode, you didn't agree with resting him. You just thought that he needed the team in front of him to play better. Do you really think? Are you sticking with your guns? You don't think that resting him is going to help at all, or have you sort of reevaluated?
No. I'm going to back out of my previous statements saying that we don't need to rest Hellebuyck. I think we're so used to him bailing us out of games, and we have defensive lapses, but he still manages to just make these incredible standing on his head saves and keep us in the games. When he doesn't do that, he looks like a bad goalie, even though in reality we're kind of letting him down. But ultimately, yeah, I mean, Laurent Brossoit is one of the best backups in the game. We should be getting him out there and getting him some minutes and getting him playoff ready, because we know Hellebuyck's not going to be able to handle every single game going forward.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because he has played so well, as Keith alluded to. Early in the season, he was looking just like the Vezina Trophy winner we know and love, and the last 10 has been a real rough go for all Jets. But when you expose your goalie as much as the Jets tend to do, eventually he's going to have a little bit of burnout, and he's going to have one of those days or weeks or whatever. You end up with a slump from a guy who is the backbone of your team. And with Lowry out as well and Ehlers out, you're not getting help on the front end. So that back end pressure really, really matters now. So I think resting Hellebuyck isn't a sign that you think he's weak. I think it's being smart, getting your backup just as much ready as your starter, and then hoping you don't need the backup come playoff time, when hopefully Nikolai Ehlers is back, and hopefully you see Lowry at 100%, and right, you got all these little pieces that are sort of floating around, broken off, and putting it back together isn't as easy as just fixing your goalie. There's more to it than that, but I mean, it has to start somewhere, right? Oh, we lost Carrie.
Yes, it certainly does have to start somewhere, and I'm not sure what's going on with this team. It makes you there's like a dark cloud looming over the sky here in Winnipeg. It's almost like there's a big cloud looming over the Winnipeg and playoffs with a type of momentum you want to get.
Oh, we're losing you there, sir.
Just keep playing like this.
We're losing Keith.
Oh,
yeah, you turned all choppy when Carrie left. It messed some stuff up. Now Carrie's back. I think we're okay.
So sorry, I've got gremlins in my internet pipes today.
Yeah, fair enough. It is what it is. This is the world of live streaming. It is what it is. So whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Make fun of us. That's totally cool. We're easy here. We're easy going. But I'm glad you made it back. Oh, there goes. Now we lost Keith's visuals, but I'm sure he's still with us in spirit. So, yeah, technical difficulties, they run deep. They run deep. But we will prevail. We will power through. Let's see if I can just bring that up. Oh, that's the chat box. No, that's still neutral zoner. All right. I got all the wrong boxes set up. It doesn't matter. We're just going to keep talking. The audio will sort itself out. The video is just bonus, hey? So let's just keep talking Jets. Did anybody, I'm going to throw it out to the panel here. Did anyone find anything that was super noteworthy in the game? Because I got to be honest, I was watching it, but it was my girlfriend's birthday yesterday, and so it was like one eye on the TV, one eye on her, and so Oh, we got a comment in the chat box here.
I'm sure she appreciated that.
Well, yeah, she appreciated me paying attention, I suppose. But we got a comment in the chat box here. from Simon Leung, if I'm pronouncing that right. We were overplaying Hellebuyck, pretty much locked into our playoff opponent. Should give Brossoit some starts. Yeah, see, somebody, you get it. Simon, you get it. Yeah, I appreciate you. Welcome to the show. But yeah, anybody that agrees with me, I'm just like, yeah, welcome. Yeah, I love you. But yeah, so he agrees. We're overplaying Hellebuyck. I think, hasn't he played the most of any starter this year?
Last week, I think during a broadcast, they said he's stopped the most shots. Like he's faced the most shots of any
when they give up over
So,
30 every single game. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so even if it's not the most games, he's definitely faced the most rubber, and he's shell shocked right now.
Yeah, I agree. We had Keith back there for a second, but he's now gone. Let's just jump over. Mr. Bilkowski, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great.
Was there something that you really noticed in last night's game that sort of stood out for you? You said you took some notes. I'm actually very impressed. We never have guests take notes. This is great.
I usually take notes just so I can yell at my girlfriend about them the next day.
That's fair.
It's nice to have a forum for it. I really like the play of Christian Vesalainen. I think he looked sharp and he had a spark and moved the puck well and was hustling. And, I've heard the Jets after all of these losses say we need to look to our leadership and we need the guys with letters on their jerseys to step up and be the guys. But to me, it's been the younger players. It's been the third and fourth liners who are really sort of holding us together here. So I'd like to see more from them. I'd like to see Jensen Harkins and Christian Vesalainen getting more minutes, at least until we get Lowry back and hopefully we get Ehlers back going into the playoffs. And hopefully, we can get a spark from them because the spark's not coming from Wheeler and it's not coming from Scheifele right now. And it's not coming from Morrissey. So, someone's got to step up.
Yeah.
They say your best players have to be your best players. They haven't been for a while now.
Yeah.
Ehlers was their best player by far, and his absence is really noticeable right now. This is the time when the leaders should be up there, right? It's like stepping up there. And I still think Scheifele's hurt. So when you ask me what did I notice, he wasn't knocked down that much yesterday. I think maybe he got like 2 hits, and both times it took forever to get up. And it's not just because he's mad or like one time he took forever to get up.
Oh, you chopped out one time sorry, Zoner, you're cutting out there. Let's jump back to, you said one time he got off the bench though or something?
He knocked down within reach. Like usually he's healthy, he's bouncing back for it. Dealing with something, a groin pull or something that just inhibits his mobility. He doesn't seem to have that push, stride when you're starting from a stop. He doesn't seem to have that anymore. He doesn't seem to change directions quickly anymore, like unless it's absolutely have to. Like there was once where he had to put on the brakes and he did it, but after that he kind of gingerly went straight to the bench. So I'm still thinking he's hurt.
There is something up with him. I think he's hurt too, and I know that since Keith is back, let's get him back in here. Well, we can't hear you. Are you talking? No, we lost his voice. We can see him, we just can't hear him. But he was there. Hello? There he is. So we'll throw it to you real quick, sir.
Yes, I agree with what Zoner was saying. Their best players haven't been their best players, and Gary said, you're not getting that spark from Morrissey. And I was just like, you know what? Morrissey used to be a really, because you're not hearing about Perreault, who always has a spark. Morrissey used to be one of these electric kind of guys. I think, no disrespect to him about having an A on his jersey, I just think that might have a lot to do with it. Like, I'm not trying to take away saying he doesn't deserve to have it, but maybe it's impacting his game. And what Zoner said there, like, their best players haven't been their best players. Like, you can't really get around it. Like, Mark Scheifele hasn't been playing the best hockey that he has been, and I almost got my butt kicked one day in Winnipeg when I said to somebody that we should trade Scheifele. So, like, the city loves him. They really have sold out to this guy. And, it's been 10 years that we've been waiting for him to really turn a tide here. And I don't know, now that Mark says that he might be hurt, maybe there's something that they're not telling us.
And I know you had said that you knew, you thought there was something maybe going on with him mentally, or he had some sort of altercation between a coach or something like that. But I don't see him acting out this way. Like, I don't think he's a large child. I think as much as he looks like a kid, that's, half the reason they call him Bambi. The other half is he doesn't know where his feet are half the time. But like, he's just not skating the same way. And as Zoner pointed out, like, he's slow to get up when he goes down. He's slow to get off the ice. He's just not moving like himself. So I don't know what's going on with the guy, but it's rough.
I think we can all agree something's going on. I mean, I clocked him not moving his feet at all, like 3 or 4 times in the game yesterday. And that's unforgivable going into playoff hockey. Like, you guys have to be hustling.
That is a great word, unforgivable. Unforgivable from Mark Scheifele, because he's on a pedestal of, like, Jonathan Toews and all those other types of superstar players. And, maybe, like, I don't know, the professional athletes to me, not to me, but one of our good friends of the show, Dr. Avinash Kumar, actually from Coon Rapids, Minnesota, says that, you have a 3 to 5 year window span to get the best out of an athlete. And to really attest to that, I'm going to bring up this card here that they made for Jonathan Toews when he got his Lord Stanley Cup there. And it says 2010, 2013, 2015. So they literally got, everything they could have got out of Jonathan Toews within that 5 year window span when he became an elite player, came into the league around, 05 or 06, and then they developed him, and then they got him, and then boom, here it is. Now, I'm not saying using the words tail end of his career in a bad way, but he is, like, kind of on his way out of the league now with a couple more years left to play. But they got exactly what they needed, and why are we still waiting to get the best out of Mark Scheifele 10 years later?
I think we've got it, but he's just hurt. Like, he was lighting it up before this about a month ago, right? Was he not on that 15-game point streak?
Yeah, and getting a lot of assists, like, just because he's not scoring as much. Sorry, Kerry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, he looked great, and then he started to fall off, and we saw him get benched basically through an entire period. And, we kind of all assumed, like, okay, well, he's just not hustling, and he's going to come back from this and come out swinging. But he just didn't. He maybe looked good for a couple periods after that, and then has fallen back into this sort of lackadaisical style of hockey that it's not sustainable, especially when everyone's relying on you. Our big goal scorers, our big point getters right now are not getting points. Like Mark Scheifele, and where's Kyle Connor? Where's Kyle Connor?
Yeah,
I'd have to agree with Mark about the Scheifele part. It's not in his DNA to sulk. With Connor, I saw him a little bit here and there, but I don't know. They even mentioned that he's only been averaging 1 shot per game the last 3 games. So that's not typical of him.
Not one bit.
He may be asked. He was maybe asked to do something different because they need him. They need some players to do some of these other things that Lowry or Ehlers would normally be doing. A little more playmaking, a little less shooting on Ehlers' end. Although he's scoring goals too, but that wide open playmaking doesn't exist without Ehlers. And then you've got a real gritty guy that's out of the lineup in Adam Lowry. That's kind of a staple of your team. Like, it's sort of when you need that line to go out there and shake somebody's tree, you send out Lowry, right? And we don't have that right now. So maybe Connor has been asked to sort of adjust, and maybe that's why we're not seeing as many shots. I thought he's been playing pretty well, but I hadn't noticed the shots thing until you just mentioned it there, Zoner.
And the last piece of the puzzle, the captain. I don't know if you caught the post-game interviews after, but he looked listless. He looked like he's in severe depression. I don't know. That usually when he's up there after a loss, he usually looks kind of angry and defiant. But the last couple of games, he looks like the life's out of him. I don't know. Like in terms of the game itself, though, he seems to be getting better as each game goes on. Like his passing still seems off to me, but I don't know. I think maybe he's just 34 years old and time's catching up. He's just not the same Wheeler from 17, 18.
Yeah, maybe not.
He's gonna have to adjust his game. Yeah,
but I don't know. The Jets are in a lot of trouble. Let's have a quick look at the playoff picture if I can get that to work properly. Let's have a look. Does this work? Do we see it? I think we do. Yay! Excellent. So, Zoner, tell us thoughts on what's going on here. Zoner, in the standings, we got Toronto in first place with 69 points. Edmonton was 60, so 9 points behind Toronto with only 2 games in hand. Winnipeg has 50 games played, so Edmonton also has 2 games in hand on us, but we're at 57 points. Montreal sitting at 53 points with 49 games played, so a game in hand on us, 4 points behind us. Zoner first, what are your thoughts on the playoff picture right now in the Scotia North Division?
What a difference a week or two makes, eh? I think 2 weeks ago we were talking about, we're catching the Leafs, and now we're trying to hold off the Canadiens for third place. It's scary to see just how close they are. 4 points? That's insane. Really, the Jets' number one goal is just to stay in third. Like don't lose any more ground. Try to find advantage. Really doesn't seem to make a difference anymore this year. If anything, it's a disadvantage just looking at their record away, home versus away. But no, this is the time to go. Just rediscover your game and hold off the Canadiens. The Canadiens aren't doing so great either, so that's a bonus. But 4 points away, that's a little too close for comfort.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not so concerned about chasing Edmonton anymore. It's just stay in third and sort yourselves out. Yeah,
I agree. All right, so we've gone over all of the things that I really could think about the game last night. Looking at the division, it's just so rough. Is there any concern on anyone else's head? We'll start with Carey. Do you think the Jets are going to make the playoffs?
I think we're going to make the playoffs. I mean, it's concerning looking at the standings there that we are the worst team in the Scotiabank North Division over the last 10 games. That we have fewer points than everyone, and that includes just a dismal Ottawa Senators team and a Vancouver Canucks team that's been ravaged by COVID and can't seem to sort of string anything together. They're still putting up more points than us, and that's terrifying.
Frozen.
Well, fair enough. That gives me a reason to talk about the chat box here, and Simon Lung chiming in saying they need to make sure to stay healthy. So I think he was just adding on to what we were talking about there. The healthy thing is a big deal. We've seen what injuries can do between Captain Wheeler being out, between being, having Ehlers out and having Lowry out. Like, these injuries are a big deal to this lineup. Every player we have is a very good player and a huge part of the team. So getting those pieces healthy is important. He also adds, Mr. Simon, from the YouTube chat, he says they are slumping at the worst time, which I agree, but Calgary, Vancouver, and Ottawa are too far behind. Fair enough. So we're probably safe. That said, Montreal is flirting with disaster. Calgary is 5 points behind Montreal. And they have 7 games left each. So that you want to say Calgary's, they're too far behind, but they could catch they could catch Montreal. And if the Jets aren't careful, with 7 games, that's 14 points. If the Jets lose out, we actually could end up behind Calgary. And so, I mean, mathematically, we are not locked into the playoffs yet. That's why there's no X beside the name when I bring up those stats. The stats are like the X beside Toronto there means they have clinched a playoff spot. We have not. So, yeah, it's a long way to go, and a very short road.
Yeah, I think they should almost treat this almost like training camp. Like let's sort out the kinks and figure out what systems you're playing and get everyone on the same page, because they don't feel very together right now.
They absolutely do not.
They're getting by with a lot of individual efforts.
Exactly, and that's problematic. You definitely don't want to be going into the playoffs with an individual trying to push things. Same as I talked about last episode, running on a hot goalie alone, you're not going to win the playoffs. You're not going to win a championship that way. No. Kerry Bukowski typing in the chat, even though we've got him back here.
Oh, my back?
Yeah.
Great. Well, I can just say it out loud then. Let's try some stuff. Like Zoner was just saying, like now's the time to treat it like training camp. Like bring in some of those taxi squad guys and get them some minutes in the NHL and give them a chance to bring something to the team. Because we're going to need that depth come the playoffs if we stand any chance of getting out of the first round. Let's try something. What do we have to lose?
And I agree with you that Vesalainen has looked pretty good in his limited playing time. Like maybe give him a little bit more of a role on this team just to test things out. Like, can he do it? Can he stick around in the NHL? Even though he's young, but he's big. He's got fresh legs. Let's give him a try.
Yeah, I'm all about it. I think, like you guys are saying right now is the time to try new things. Direct quote from Kerry Bilkowski, as you see in the chat. But he's, you guys are very right, Zoner. I'm with you there. I think that why not treat it like training camp? Why not treat it like a preseason situation where all you really need to get is, as Simon pointed out, Calgary can get 61 points max if they win out. Right? We only need 4 points to get that far. So, with 6 games left, I'm sure we can get 4 points out of these 6 games. I'm sure we can. But
do we play Ottawa?
We play Ottawa twice, don't we?
Oh, there you go. There's 4 points.
That's rude. We play Ottawa twice. The next game that the Jets actually play is Monday, the 3rd of May, against Ottawa. So we will be back here in the LZ on the 4th. So that's Tuesday at 11 a.m. Then they play in Calgary, and then they're back home for the rest of the season, where they play Ottawa, Vancouver twice, and then finish out the year with a game against Toronto. So, Ottawa twice, Vancouver twice. Out of all that, we should end up with at least 4 points. And to Simon's point, we pretty much locked into the playoffs, even though they don't officially mathematically have that clinched spot yet. All it'll take is 2 wins to clinch a playoff spot.
I think we can say fairly that if we don't get those points, we don't deserve to be in the playoffs.
I agree. If you don't get those points, and even if they lose out the rest of the season, they could potentially still end up in the playoffs, because Calgary would have to win all but 1 game in order to overtake us, right? So, sorry, I leaned way back from the mic there, yelling at the microphone. But I'm just, man, it's a crazy finish to this really strange, really odd year. I call it the asterisk of a season, because nothing is the same. No records can count because there isn't enough games played. It's just a weird year, and there's lots of crazy stuff happening in this league right now. It's off-putting almost to a point. So Montreal beat Winnipeg, as we discussed, for this entire time, and I think that was the only game in our division in action last night. All the other games happened. There's a bunch the night before. So tonight, games in our division to look for. I know Montreal is playing at home again, hosting Ottawa, and Toronto is going to see Vancouver come to town. Was there anything else Canadian? Oh, yeah, look at that. Calgary will be visiting Edmonton for another Battle of Alberta game, and we'll see what happens. We don't play again till the 3rd. It's getting crunch time, guys. But final thoughts on anything? Who's the best team in the league, in your opinion? I know we can all just go by the stats, but who's the hottest team right now? Kerry, go first. Never mind, he's had a stroke or something there. So we'll jump to Keith. Keith, go ahead.
I'm gonna have to go with the Washington Capitals.
Okay.
Yeah, they're my pick right now. And in their last 10, going 7-2-1. That's pretty impressive. Excuse me, especially with the tail end of the season here. So I'm gonna stick with them. How about you, Zoner?
I like the Vegas Golden Knights. They've been on a tear pretty much since the season began. They're just in. I actually got a chance to watch a game of them a week ago, and it was almost frightening with the intensity they play with, and the speed and the size they've got. They were definitely built for the playoffs. They're in playoff mode all year round. They're just mowing people down.
Yeah, and Kerry Bulkowski just fired into the chat here. The Jets are the best team in the league. Prove me wrong. I have a list of statistics, sir, that can do that. But you also just pop back in so we can actually see your face again.
Oh.
So there you are.
We're the best team in the league. No other team has Matthew Perreault.
Oh, Frenchie. Yeah.
Yeah.
The French
the
Prince.
most handsome man in hockey.
Well, there's an entire thread on Reddit about who's the hottest. But anyway,
Really?
you got to get on there. They're insatiable, those Reddit people, and the Discord is worse. But Kerry Bilkowski also said we have 100% more Perreault than anyone else. I think that's a great quote. So that was just, you threw that in the chat because you thought we couldn't see you at that point.
That is correct.
Thank you very much. We got Keith, we got Zoner. Yeah, we got you, and then I think Tampa Bay's looking really dangerous right now. 4-game winning streak. They're going to be a hard team to beat, and they're hard to play in the playoffs as well. They've got depth, they've got experience. I think that they're going to be a hard team to play against. Although you can't discount the Vegas Golden Knights 9-1-0 in their last 10, and their last game they played was their loss. So they went 9 games prior to that without a loss. It's
yeah. Mark, the last few shows that I've done with you, Vegas has been 9-1-0 in the last 10.
So
so that's been over a couple of weeks,
but they
now,
keep
right? Like 9-1-0, 9-1-0. It's just
they'll
insane.
win one, and then they'll be winning, and they'll have a loss, and it'll work its way through the last 10 until it works out the other way, and then they lose one on the other end. So they're just keeping it 9-1-0. So they're insane right now. It's crazy. Keep maintaining that kind of hockey is tough. But that's it. That's all we got time for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Kerry Bilkowski, I want to thank you so much. Sorry for the technical difficulties we suffered early. Having 2 guests on the show is like having 7 times the number of problems for some reason on my end. Ooh, sorry. We're not professionals. We're just a bunch of guys trying to fill the void, that we love talking sports in Winnipeg. And so, Kerry, thank you for being here. Zoner, as always, thank you for being here. Keith, you're always here, so whatever. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, boys. I really appreciate it.
Right on. So for all of us here and our sponsor, Aqua-Tech Pool, Spa, and Bath, we want to say thank you very much, and we will see you next time in the LZ.